in handling the situation of COVID-19, all those countries were led by women. Whether it was New Zealand, whether it was Germany, or whether it was Taiwan, those were countries were led by women. Unfortunately, comparatively, the countries that had the worst impact of COVID were the United States, which was led by a man, Britain, which was led by a man, and Brazil, which was led by a man. So all the indicators of effectiveness, all the effectiveness of governance show that electing a woman to be in authority and power is probably one of the best investments any country can do. Many of us are very proud of a country called Rwanda. Many of us remembered what happened in Rwanda several years ago. But Rwanda has become the center for every one of us to go. And we always point to Rwanda as one of the epitome of development and democracy in our continent. Why is it so? It's because of the overwhelming presence of women in their parliament. So, unfortunately, in 2023, we are more likely to have less women than in 2019. Because if you look at the number of aspirants who have now been cleared by INEC, we have like 9% of aspirants in Senate and about 9% of aspirants in the House of Representatives. So this is a terrible, terrible indicator. But, and this is the chance for our political parties to come out and say that even if we do not elect or we do not screen women as our aspirants and our candidates, we will be doing more in terms of either giving women appointed positions or in considering laws and bills and other things that will ensure that women are represented in our political system. When we say that there's representative democracy, and if half of the population is not represented, is that a representative democracy? I welcome you all. I welcome all the candidates. Let's get the ball rolling. Thank you very much.
Now I understand why you were singing along with the women. Let's put our hands together for him, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, our wonderful mothers that are here. One of the greatest poets of all time, Maya Angelou, once said, she said, "Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I might not be cute or built to fit a fashion model's size, but when I stand to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it is in the reach of my arms," that's a woman talking. "It is the span of my hips, the stride of my steps, the call of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's who I am. And phenomenal women, that's who you are." Can you put your hands together for yourselves, please? So let me welcome here the Secretary General of the Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, RAPA. Please welcome here Sadatu Madi, MFR.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we may need to establish a protocol when we get deep into the conference. But let me start by commending the Board of Trustees of the Women FM, that's the WFM and the Voice of Women Foundation. Today is another day we are marking a gathering of women. Yesterday we were at the Merit House speaking to election-free, corruption-free matters. Women were there to speak about their intendment and their intention to reject vote buying, to reject coercion by their husbands and so on, by their mentors and by their supporters. Today we are here. We are going to speak to the presidential aspirants. And I looked around my computer to say, what do I have to say? Nigerian women have said it all over and over and over. And the statistics just read it out by our brother and mentor and supporter, Dr. Shatima, says it all. The world has moved from tokenism to concrete numbers. The world has moved from lip service and tokenism to reality and to also numbers and value of their women. So I picked out a quote that I have seen as something we can hold our presidential candidates to account for when they come to speak to us. And the quote goes this way. I will tell you who said it at the end of it. The gains and pains of Nigerians are a shared reality in which an Igbo woman's desire for her children to get quality education and find employment is not different from the Yoruba man's dream for his children to become useful members of our society. A wife's desperate need for affordable and quality health care for her husband diagnosed with prostate cancer in Enugu is not different from a husband's desire to save the life of his wife diagnosed with ovarian cancer in Lagos. Invariably, our fears are the same, our dreams are the same, and our problems are the same. Regardless of the language we speak or the way we understand or worship God, what affects any one of us affects every one of us. And this goes to underscore the acceptance speech of President Muhammad Buhari in 2015, March 31st to be precise. At this occasion, in addition to what he said in Lagos to Nigerian women, we were of the view that even if we were not going to make it at the polls, already seeing what had happened at the primaries, we had hoped that his government would have gone 1 inch higher than the previous government he took over from. Unfortunately, and this is with every sense of responsibility and respect to his government, we did not witness that. And today we are here to ask the incoming presidential candidates, is it going to be another dream dashed or our hopes thrown into the dustbin? Nigerian women, you need to ask this. Now, in terms of what we want to ask them, we're not going to ask them for bread and butter. We're also going to reject the rice that they will be giving us at polling vote. Yes. We will reject the monies and the akra they will be giving us. We want concrete actions to improve the voices of women in the parliament. Our elections are not one-off. We have elections, we have tribunals going on, and we must see to it that the incoming president, presiding over his party as the leader of the party, makes it a commitment to us and to Nigerians that that government will be gender equitable and socially inclusive for all of us as Nigerians. We need the executive, led by the incoming president, to make good the minimum, which has been committed in the National Gender Policy, which was approved in March 2022. The revised version has 35% affirmative action, inching towards 50-50. We need the legislature to look into what they have passed as bills. We need them to pass the Gender Equality Opportunity Bill. We need them to finance the implementation of the Violence Against Prohibition Act. It is not enough to pass laws. Laws are pieces of paper. They need life to be breathed into them. And the only way we can do that is to have the legislature take up its 3 cardinal jobs. 1, appropriation, 1, legislation, 2, appropriation, and 3, oversight. In this oversight, we expect them to be courageous to tell the government of the day that you did not commit to doing this. You promised them this, and it should be done in terms of what we look forward to from this government, incoming government. Permit me to also say something, that whereas Nigerian women see the need to hear from our political aspirants or from our presidential aspirants, we still want to speak to all Nigerian men. Nigerian men, we are not seeking for sameness with you. We're just asking for justice. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. You are, as you would say in a patronizing manner, many men would say to you, I have a mother, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have a sister. That is not enough. You've got to live up to the responsibility of being a husband so that you can be the man and the degree above me. You need to be the responsible father who ensures that his daughter gets quality education. You need to be, I pause to welcome the presidential aspirant of the Nigerian Labour Party. The presidential candidate of the Nigerian Labour Party. Okay. I also welcome the presidential candidate for the Action Alliance political party. I was in the middle of almost finishing my speech, speaking to why we have invited you here, Your Excellencies. And I was at the point where I was saying, we need your courage to live up to the commitments you will be making to us today. We also have agreed here that we are not going to go away with lip service of, I will take women in my cabinet. No, we want more concrete actions that we can follow through and take to the bank with you. We would want you to also ensure that your legislature is one that is conscious of its role for policy and legislation, appropriation money to bring life to those policies and to those legislations, as well as oversight. We expect them to look around and ensure that what you committed today is done, what they've given you money to bring life to those policies is done, and the Nigerian women will hold you accountable. I was closing with the statement to the effect that we are not only speaking to you as our presidential aspirants, we are also speaking to all Nigerian men. We are speaking to that husband who is a responsible family head, who supports his wife, who supports his daughter, who educates his daughter. We are speaking to that uncle who will not abuse his daughter out of distrust. Incest has become something in this country. We are looking at that brother who does not lord it over my sister or his sister to say, you wash the dishes. He can do it. We are also looking forward to you living up to those ethos of responsible leadership. Leadership is the bane of Nigeria, I beg to say. Am I right, ladies? We want leaders who will commit and deliver. We want leaders who also are conscious that they will be losing if they don't include 50% of the population of the nation. And those are women and youth. So with these few remarks, and as honored to chair the 2022 Voice of Women Conference, I yield to Nigerian women to ask our presidential aspirants to deliver. With that, I want to welcome once again everyone to this conference. I hope it will be something we can take to the bank, we can take to the market, and we can take everywhere at the end of the day. May God be and bless this country. Thank you very much.
Can we continue with the applause until she's seated? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while her speech was on, I know she quickly acknowledged the arrival of two of our presidential candidates, Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, retired, of the Action Alliance, and Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Can we please give them a rousing welcome? Thank you. Thank you. Well, she's mentioned most of the problems women are facing, and we'd actually be telling an incomplete story by not highlighting how women bear a heavier burden in this entire crisis. The gender pay gap still exists. Women are still the major victims of gender-based and domestic violence. Our women and young girls, unfortunately, still face harassment in the workplace and schools. Well, in line with the general elections kicking off in February, we're here to spotlight some of the issues women have continually faced, and we're here to reiterate our commitment to solving these problems. We're here to ensure that the candidates have listened and hear what their plans are in addressing the demands of women. We'll quickly move on now to take a few remarks. And I'd like to most respectfully call on Mary Omoyeme Musa of the MON Foundation to give us just 3 minutes remarks. Let's welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. With profound humility and respect to everyone seated here, distinguished, I would love to stand on the existing revered protocol. My name is Miriam Moyame Musa, and I am the founder of the Mom Enabled Foundation. And what we do, thank you. And what we do is we advocate for the vulnerable group. That's including women, children, and then persons with disabilities. I am a legal practitioner, I'm a human resource practitioner, and I'm a humanitarian. Thank you. Today, I stand here to represent a group of people that have been least represented in political spaces. I stand here to represent a group of people that have been long marginalized. I stand to represent a group of people whose resources, human capital, have been undertapped for many years. And we are here to say that no more are we going to believe in paper policies. We want our policies to be translated and transposed into performance. For too long, young women with disabilities have suffered sexual harassment in the hands of people because we are trying to secure employment. Political participation, of course, has sidelined us because the people do not believe in us. But how can the people believe in us if the government doesn't provide the enabling environment for us to thrive? So we are here to ask our excellencies what plans they have for us strategically. We are not talking about rice and beans, tea and bread. We're talking about strategic needs. Needs that are going to set foundations for us and make us independent. We are tired of being at the mercy of randy men who take us as a piece of property or a piece of meal because we are dependent on them. It is time for the Disability Act in Nigeria to be implemented. We profoundly thank the current government for finally passing it in 2019. But we all know here that it's one thing to pass a law, to implement it is another thing. The transition grace is going to expire by December next year or January 2024. But up until now, we are yet to see public buildings modified to allow for access for those on our wheelchairs. We are yet to see brailles on our buildings so that those who do not see can see through their fingers. We are yet to enter government agencies and see 5% representation of the staff strength as provided in the Disability Act. We know, we have heard that the greatest nations regarding disability is not America with all its grandeur. It's not even the Britain. We know that and that's why we say that the biggest nation is our imagination. Are you ready to take us through what we have imagined? Thank you for having me.
She might be physically, visually impaired, but her insight goes into infinity. Her words are framed in poetry, her mind built in logic, and her essence is wonderful. Can we put our hands together for our ladies and gentlemen? We want to also welcome here from the YPP, Ado Ibrahim Abdul Malik. We welcome you.
The Women Radio Center, first female academy established to equip female journalists with relevant knowledge and tools to carry out investigative reporting on issues that affect women. In August 2022, the Women Radio Center opened its doors to its first set of fellows, 20 female journalists from Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The 20 were selected from a pool of 813 applicants from Nigeria and 9 applicants from outside Nigeria.
Good afternoon. My name is Toby Awunipe, and I am a fellow of the Women Radio Center class of 2022. And I'm thankful for the opportunity that this training offered to me, and I would ensure that my reports and features reflect more investigation into stories that affect the lives of women and use in-depth analysis with more data in telling my stories in line with what I learned during the training. Thank you very much.
The 20 committed journalists had a 1-week residential intensive training from a faculty of industry experts led by Dr. Suleiman Yaradua of Bayero University, Kano. Faculty include Deji Badimosi, founder of TV 360 Nigeria, Fisayo Shoyombo of Foundation for Investigative Journalism, Haruna Mohammed of Wiki Times, Moturayo Alaka of Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Juliana Francis of Eagle Online, Dr. Rokoya Aliyu of Bayero University, Dr. Rahimat Adeniro of Lagos State University, Dr. Adama Adamu of Ahmadu Bello University, Adenike Aloba of DataFight, Lanre Arogondade IPC, and Dr. Dare Ogunyambo of Lagos State University.
A deliberate effort for me to be able to change the narratives, to be able to equip our women journalists with the right tools, with the right resources, and the right expertise to be able to continue to report and continue to hold power to account, but to also particularly focus on, women issues. If you talk about on the development in Nigeria, of course, you most of the times make reference with women. There are a lot of things, that is not going in the favor of our women. And I think the right people that are supposed to report on their issues, of course, are the women. So what the center is doing is extremely unique. And I believe over time, when the right resources and strategy are deployed, that center will be able to change the narratives around women, particularly women journalists who should be equipped, who should be passionate, and who should be mentored to be able to focus on adversarial journalism that holds power to account.
92% of the participants believe that the training materials provided were perfect and adequate for learning purposes. Grant tools were given to the Women Radio Fellows class of 2022 to support their work and research as they uncover unreported stories of corruption affecting women.
My name is Hadiza Yahya Abubakar. I'm a fellow of the Women Radio Center class 2022, and I am thankful and grateful for the opportunity. Before this training, I was skeptical about investigation, but with the knowledge I have now, I am prepared to unravel and uncover stories of corruption affecting women and children in the society. Thank you.
The Women Radio Center, supported by the MacArthur Foundation, is...
Thank you very much. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer to the point where we'll be listening to our presidential candidates on what they have for women. But there are a few rules we need to observe. One, we'll make it as orderly as possible. We should not influence our political leanings on the narrative here today. Let's just take notes and appreciate them so that we can hold them accountable when it is time for them to deliver on what will affect women. So in order to get that going, let me welcome here to set the agenda and also do a presentation of the Women Manifesto Charter of Demands before our presidential candidates speak. Let me welcome here the Executive Director, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center, Dr. Abiola Akeode Afolabi.
Women-focused origination working across Nigeria to attain gender justice and gender equality. They build consensus and mobilize their members' collective experience to work on critical issues affecting women, to realize women's rights, equality between women and men in pursuit of social justice and a society devoid of discrimination. In 2019, over 1,000 individual women and women's institutions under the auspices of the Feminist Manifesto platform articulated a Charter of Demands by Nigerian women. The Charter of Demands is called WOW Manifesto, which encapsulates some critical demands whose implementation is envisioned to hold the keys to an egalitarian Nigerian state where women and girls can maximize their potentials. The Charter of Demands are violence against women and girls, women's political participation, women and the economy, sexual and reproductive health rights, women, peace and security, human capital development, education, constitutional reform. As we build up to the 2023 elections, the issues of women's political participation in the midst of insecurity remains a daunting challenge that needs to be tackled. It is pertinent to hold a dialogue that will support coalescing the voices of women in governance, CSOs, academia, media, and autonomous women's groups in Africa and diaspora to develop a strategy to break the bottlenecks to balancing the power equation in leadership. In addition, the conference would seek to address actions that will promote the gender bills that was recently voted against by National Assembly as during the Constitution review process, which aimed at using our apex law, the Constitution, to address certain issues affecting women and in so doing promote women's rights in relation to citizenship, indigenship, and political inclusion and participation. Against this backdrop, the WOW Manifesto Conference 2022 is anchored on these themes: gender, elections, integrity, and accountability, moving Nigeria towards a corruption-free election in 2023. In conclusion, Nigerian women will continue to press on for our demands for an inclusive society, evidenced by equity, social justice, accountability, good governance, increased participation, and proportional representation as guiding principles. WOW Manifesto, a charter of demands.
No women! No women! No retreat, no surrender. No retreat. Thank you very much. Presidential candidates, with due respect, Your Excellencies here present, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to speak on behalf of thousands of women organizations, women groups across the country. And I'm happy that here, seated here, we have women representing the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. They are representatives that were elected by civil society organizations and groups across the state. So I'm just starting here, at the mouthpiece of these great women. Some years back in 2019, we were very concerned about the state of women, and we came together, about 1,000 of us representing across the country, and we came up with what Nigerian women want. My dear presidential candidates, we need your full attention. What Nigerian women want. I'm going to present this to you, but however, before I do that, it becomes very important to create some kind of background to the presentation that I'm making. Let me say, to us, this is a social accountability process, and it's very important to us. And we are going to hold the presidential candidates accountable to some of these issues. Why? Because as women in Nigeria, we are tired of playing the second-class position. Am I saying the truth? We are tired of being seen and not being heard. We want to be part of the decision making. We want to be on the table. As we speak today, we don't have that. If you look at the number of women who are candidates, they are far, far, far less than the number of men. In actual fact, we have a diagram which shows that in some states, we just have only about 5. For example, in Sokoto, we have just 5 women candidates. Can you imagine? In Kebbi, we have just 5. In FCT, we have 10. In Bauchi, we have about just 3. In Gombe, we have just about 17 women. So, meaning what it then means is that it becomes very important for us to re-strategize and bring our issues before the candidates that are running for 2023 election. Because as we said, no retreat, no surrender. We will not take from any other government. We will not take from any other government, who will not respect us as women. Women must be respected in this country. We have talked enough. We have strategized enough. We have lobbied political parties. We have lobbied the government. We have seen that nothing in particular is really changing. And that's why we're standing here today. This engagement is very important to us. What Nigerian women want. And I will quickly go into that. We have talked about the issue of violence against women. We recognize that a lot of steps have been taken. We recognize that some states have been able to pass the violence against persons prohibition law. But we are still saying that there are institutions which has to be established to protect women from further violence. So we are saying in your campaign, sirs, in your campaign, we want to see a reflection of this. And when you become the president, we also want you to support ensuring that women don't face the kind of violence that we are facing today, that there is zero tolerance to violence against women. Secondly, the issue of women political participation. We are embarrassed as a country. Look at Kenya. Look at South Africa. Look at Rwanda.
See microphone.
Well, they said my time is up. Thank you very much. This has a summary of what we have. It has a summary of what we have. I would like you to please take another step and raise it up. This is what Nigerian women want. Is this what we want? Is this what we want? Honorable Minister, is this what we want? Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. Please consider it in your campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. While she was speaking with the representative of Her Excellency the First Lady, the SSA Admin and Women Affairs, Dr. Rukayat Gurin, walked in. I welcome you. Thank you very much. Let me also welcome the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Dame Pauline K. Tarlin. I welcome you. And so, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I understand that for every speaker there is a timer, and once your time is off, they'll fade you, which is why at some point your sound will go. But because of the time and how busy our presidential candidates are, it's time to begin to take them. They have collected the agenda now. We can begin to hold them accountable from this minute onwards. So to kick off, let me welcome here former Governor of Anambra State, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
Her Excellency, the First Lady, and Your Excellency, the Minister, let me stand on all due and existing protocols and start by apologizing that I have to run away immediately. Had an engagement that I'm running to travel, but when they say women are involved, I said I must be here because I know what will happen to me at home if I don't go to this one. Let me most sincerely thank you for inviting me and everything. What we are doing, I've heard what you said about your agenda and everything. Nigeria is about to hire the next CEO of Nigeria, of the enterprise called Nigeria. And the only thing we have to sell, and I plead to you, mothers, because what we are going through today as a country, you will not believe it. Our country is collapsing. And you can save it. And you mothers are the ones that will suffer more if it goes wrong. I believe in the women. And I believe that you can save the country. So for me, if anybody is coming to tell you what he's going to do tomorrow, let's start from what he did yesterday. Let's look at his past. Look at where he's coming from. I have served in various ways in the corporate industry. And I want you to go and check my record there. But because of want of time, I want to talk about the way I work with women as governor. That's where we will start. I had a female deputy governor. My chief of staff is a woman. My commissioner for planning is a woman. Commissioner for local government is a woman. Commissioner for education, woman. Accountant general, is a woman. Commissioner for finance is a woman. I can go on and tell you how I work with women. And I always say it, they are far more productive than men. When you talk about my success today as a governor, I will attribute it to those women. My head of service, they will all say no to me. You can't do this. Our children are involved. So for me, women are critical in this. If we want to get Nigeria to move, I think we have to surround ourselves with this 50% we are neglecting today. And I'm going to invest in it. They're not going to be there for just ordinary small listen. I know with Ngozi Wala alone, this country would not have been where we are today. That woman was crying to all of us as governors. Let's save the money we have in excess crude. It was saying us there will be a day like this. That if we allow her, but the governors will refuse and share that money. And that is where, look at where we are today. Today now, with all this flood and everything, you won't be surprised that soon a bag of rice will be 60,000 naira. That is 2 months minimum wage. There's no way any country, what we are going through today is cumulative effect of leadership failure with that. We are now about to pick a new leadership, and we must go beyond all those considerations of yesterday and think about the future of this country. And we cannot do it without you on the driving seat. We need to make a law. And that is one thing I want you to take from me. We must have a law in this country. Let's not talk about agreement. It should be a law giving women and youth a percentage in all electoral positions and every position in Nigeria, like it's in Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh is doing well today. Today, Bangladesh is a country that is self-sufficient, almost in food. Bangladesh is #1 biggest exporter of textiles. I spent 2 weeks in Bangladesh. Go to rural areas. Out of about 10 million that is involved in textile business, 60% are women. If you go to the agriculture, it's the same thing. Rural women were doing wonderful work, supported. Because of it today, Bangladesh have less than 6% unemployment. Nigeria is 35% unemployment. That's why you have all this crisis. So I assure you that I will be committed, and I said, this is my past, which you can go and check, and then be able to determine in all of us what we are selling today is who can you trust? Who will do what he's saying? It's not enough for somebody to come here and say, I'll fight corruption. When the last place he left, everything was missing. You know, let him tell us how we left that place. I can say, I will fight corruption. And I've said it. The last place that I went, I left money. And it's in banks in Nigeria. I left $150 million, and I left at something billion naira. And I was not owing anybody. All pensions, gratuity, and everything were cleared. So if anybody says, I'm going to do this, tell us what you did in the last place you passed. So we will trust you that when you get here, you do the same thing. He's not telling us that I'll do this. There's too much promises here. My dear people, next year, the election, don't vote for me because I'm from the Southeast. Don't vote for me because I'm an Igbo man. Next year's election should not be based on tribe or ethnicity. They don't buy bread cheaper in the North. It should not be based on religion. No Christian buys bread cheaper. It should not be based on my turn. It should not be based on anything. It should be based on character, we can trust, competence, capacity, and commitment to start changing Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together once again for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi? We have heard he's been direct, loud. We've heard in person, on radio and television, so we can hold him accountable. Ladies and gentlemen. So we'll just quickly move on because we will shortly be making a switch. We're right now on live television, TVC. We'd like to call on the candidate of the Action Alliance, Hamza Al-Mustafa, to tell us what he has in store, his plans for the women of Nigeria if elected.
Your Excellency, the First Lady, ably represented, Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, distinguished senior daughters and leaders across Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, I wish this subject being a very serious matter, women would consider increasing some more minutes. It is critical for your life. It is critical for Nigeria at this point in time. We shall be inching into a new world. We cannot continue to now be seen to be trading in yesterday's routine. There is the saying before I start, and I will rush, is to say that from the history of mankind, at all times material, when a country or a society refuses to understand that when modernity comes, all keys cannot open the doors of life of any given country. Modernity requires modern key if you must live. With this, I will also wish to say that in the new world order, it is not your qualification, but your skills that matters. We want our women to be invested upon. We want our women to operate at home and operate outside. And lastly, these three statements are the guiding factor of my speech. We took time in Nigeria and outside Nigeria deliberately to know if we make promises, are we going to fulfill it? The promises we'll make to people without funds is just a smoke in the air that has no meaning. It's a very fundamental matter. We spend years and months investigating what makes Nigeria and what we can do, away from oil, away from gas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with all sense of humility, I tell you, any promise by any person outside creativity and the knowledge to create wealth from outside Nigeria and inside Nigeria, lofty ideas can never take off unless you know how to make resources. We have for this country and for the next generation. And I'm happy for the depth of the researches we have done. We have gotten to know we can create trillions of dollars. It sounds fairy tale. I'm not saying trillions of naira. We can create trillions of dollars. And quote me. Quote me in the sense that we can compete with G7, each and every one of them. But we are yet to know who we are and where our country is. With this small illustration, let me say as follows. First of all, we believe in dignifying the woman as a fundamental fact, as a leading factor in our own manifesto. Women participation in politics, section 38, is incomplete. It exemplifies exclusion of women proper to itself. That is to say, if we have leadership tomorrow, section 28 must be revisited. The president, the government tomorrow must be seen to have new bills that will have to be adjusted for them to participate. Secondly, you must have institutions in all the zones that will prepare women leadership in politics. Because women in Nigeria have failed to understand two things. In politics, when things are to be done, you get a woman. But when things are to be said, you get a man. But in any other profession in life is the reverse of it. Now, the second is that women participation in politics will require them to be armed and to understand the game and to be supported by funds. So unless you have a government that is ready to have these institutions in all the zones to support the women directly with special funds, because there are ways to get that done. And unless this is done, women will continue to waste their time and for them to be deceived. And lastly, women look at politics from that motherhood spirit. Anytime they deceive them during elections, we will do B, C, D. They believe them. And in that motherhood spirit is a forgiving heart. It's the large heart of woman. It's the mother who likes to forgive whenever she comes calling. So don't look at politics that way. They will continue to deceive you. That's why we, in Action Alliance, anything I say and anything I intend to do, we will enter into legal agreement with the women associations across Nigeria to say the entire manifesto and the cry of women from what you presented in 2022. That's the problems of women in Africa and the problems of women in Nigeria. We also are keen in with the 8 points of United Nations. When all your problems, we have keyed in. I'm rushing because of time. That's why I said a topic like this, 7 minutes in is inadequate and is unrealistic. I hope if you don't mind, since most of our brothers are not here, time can be added. Because that is the life of women. That's the life of a poor woman. That's the life of widows. That's the life of orphans. You have to take this extremely serious, even if it means sleeping here, to sign legal understandings with you. No more jokes, no more deceit. We want new Nigeria. We have been deceived for years. It's a new era. We have to move with the world. We have all it takes to provide leadership to the world and indeed Africa. And if we have to do so, we have to carry women. There must be realism in what we say and what we do. You see, because of want of time, there's so much for me to say. I just scrambled them here, but I realize I have just 1 minute. Important occasion, little time. I'm not complaining, but all I'm saying is we are far from realities. You were deceived, we are pain. We want realism onto you. You have to key in to know what you stand for and what you are going to sign as agreement. Since time is against me, all I want you to do, there are numerous important things. Everybody knows the problems of women in Nigeria. That's all I can say in a nutshell. But every candidate that is worth himself should tell you how he's going to fund you, should tell you the secrecy of wealth creation and doing your project, should enter into legal understanding. When he fails, you take him to court, first as a person, second as a government, third to get it done. These bills can be done. Anything outside this is a deceit, is yesterday's game, you will earn nothing. This environment, this continent, this country has to change. Believe no lies, accept what is real. I'm here because of reality. As far as I'm concerned, I have not even touched what I have. I wish you can listen to what I have, but for want of time, all I can say is I am humble and I am happy that I'm invited here to see your faces and to guarantee you that all keys cannot open all doors for Nigeria's door of life. God bless you. God bless our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. While he was speaking, the presidential candidate of the SDP, Adeboye Adewale Ebenezer, walked in. We want to welcome you. And also the vice presidential candidate of the APC, and the former governor of Borno State, Alhaji Shatima, is also with us now. I welcome you, Your Excellency. You're welcome. You're welcome. So without much ado, let me welcome here the presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Ado Ibrahim Abdul Malik.
Good day, ladies, mothers, sisters, daughters. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation from VOW. I come from a unique perspective about what women are to us. You are 50% of our population, and you gave birth to the other 50% of this population. So our job is to nurture you, protect you, and get you on a stage where we can honor you at all times. I don't believe that as a politician, we are here to deliver action on what women should do. It should be something we're ingrained to do, to protect our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. I'm not a politician, so I will come directly to what I do best. In every organization that I have started, I have worked in, and including my home, reverence is given to the way the mother raises us, nurtures us, and cares for us. Over 80% of my employees are women. That is a task I have taken very kindly to because I get results. As the presidential candidate of YPP. I think even our women leader will tell you, there is no way you can go in my movement, in my home, in my activities on a daily level where women are not in the fore of everything. So I'm not going to give you some deliberate speech or agreement you must sign. There's a rule I like, and there's a rule you should hold every one of us to. If somebody promises you they're going to do something, make sure they've done it. There's no point anybody giving you this political speech that I will do this, I will sign an agreement and 35% will be women. Have they done it? And if they haven't, then do not believe, because actions speak louder than words. You can sign all the documents you want, but do you believe in what you're signing? When it comes to how women run things, it's very clear that there is that maternal spirit, that nurturing spirit. Nigeria needs that today. The amount of strife, lack of empathy that we see on a daily basis has to stop. Mothers, talk to your children. Daughters, raise good men. There is no excuse for what we see where women feel that they are neglected, unappreciated. You are what we are. Without you, well, we wouldn't be here. So men, as we sit and try to preach to you that we are going to do certain things, we also realize the value. I think every one of us on this stage realizes the value that you all bring to us, and we honor you for that. I think what is unconscionable is that we are still talking about violence against women as if we are cavemen. It cannot continue to happen. But it's not a unique Nigerian thing. It happens all over the world. Nigeria needs to lead the way in how we present ourselves as men, how we present ourselves as a nation, and how we lead. If we do not take these things seriously, we are going to continue to fall as a nation. Together we rise, and if we don't take care, we will fall together. So I want to promise you that it's not about what you save or what you predict will happen in the future. Is what have you done in your past? How have you reflected that togetherness, that understanding, that comfort in womanhood? And how do you bring it to the fore? How do you give reassurances to you? So please check, regard what we do, what we've done, and that should be the guideline for you to realize which one of us best suits the kind of Nigeria you want. Which one of them that is on this stage gives you the best value for who you are as a member of this great country. Nigeria needs guidance, and we get it best from our mothers. If we do not present ourselves in that vein, then you are also responsible. You must put our feet to fire and make sure that we deliver as your sons, we deliver as your husbands, and we deliver as your brothers. Politics is not something I've come into lightly. I've come into it because I believe there is a better Nigeria ahead of us. I believe there's a Nigeria that sees what is best in every single one of us. I believe that that Nigeria requires 50% of your cabinet to be women. I believe that Nigeria also requires that not just a woman as a place setter. We need the best women, because if we pick the wrong woman, it's going to be the wrong kind of message. It will set you back. Look around the world where there's WTO, United Nations, many other agencies. Nigerian women are at the top, and we need to bring that back home. We need to show you at the top of what we do as a country. I don't have much else to say. I'm very grateful for the love that you are all showing us as men, as fathers to your children. But please, we do nothing without you making sure that we do it. If you have to not give us food at home, then do that. If you have to wrap us around the head, then do that. But make sure, come 2023, you are present. You must be present. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much to the organizers for this incredible occasion.
Okay, can we have a better round of applause for the presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Ado Ibrahim Abdul Malik? Our presidential candidates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on Africa Independent Television, AIT. So we'll simply go straight on to our next speaker. I'd like to call on the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adebayo Adewale Ebenezer, to give us his plans.
Eminent leaders of our society, the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, the organizers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here to speak to the most important segment of our society. My approach to looking at the issue of women is to look at myself as a product of a woman. And my life has turned to what it is today. And if there's anything that I need to offer, it is because I was fortunate to be raised by women. I lost my father when I was 2 years, 3 months. But the quality that my mother was, that my grandmother was, and I was so lucky to have my great-grandmother to look after me, I did not know what it meant to be an orphan or what the life of a person who lost his father could have been. And also, I'm a prince of the Ondo kingdom, and in Ondo we are used to women because we are called princes because our kingdom was founded by a woman. I think we are about the only, one of the few kingdoms in the world that the founder was a woman, and we inherited our royalty from the mother side. So I'm used to being under women, listening to women, taking command from women. In fact, this morning I took command from my wife, if I got here. So from a cultural perspective, which we cannot overlook, the culture plays a major role as regards the value, the humanity that we ascribe to women. So with me, you don't have any cultural hangover of superiority to women or looking down on women. That is not my problem. But there are other structural issues. If we approach women as citizens, and we do that very well, most of our problems will be solved. If we approach women as humans, and we do that very well, most of our problems will be solved. But there are so many other ways we can look at women. But what is most important is the legal right. The rights, privileges, and prospects of women in the society should not depend on which government is in power. Should not depend on which politician signs an undertaking. Because under our constitution, there are guaranteed rights for women. Secondly, the objective condition that you create in a country will determine whether women are going to live to their full potential. I was a United Nations and ECOWAS appointed commissioner in Liberia after the war. And I noticed one thing very clearly. All the people who caused the war, none was a woman. The generals who commanded the war, none was a woman. But most victims of the war were women. And when we came to rebuild that country, most of those who came to contribute to the development and rebuilding of that country were women. So our politics has been fashioned in such a way that men are allowed to go and cause problems, women fall victim of the problem, and women still come back to rebuild what men have destroyed. And once the thing has been rebuilt, the men take over again, we start the cycle. That should stop. So generally speaking, In our country today, we are running unfair to poverty and insecurity. Who are the worst victims of poverty? It's the women. Because when the men get a job and they are well paid, they have many ways by which they spend their money. But as soon as the man loses his job, the best friend becomes the wife. Because that's the person who now has to look after the family. We have children. When they are suffering from poverty, the men can have many excuses. I've lost my job, what can I do? Women are the only people who have no excuse to give, whether the woman has a job or not. Somehow she must provide for the family. So a poor society, do the graphics anywhere you want to do it. A poor society means a society where the women are poor. Take the top 10 countries in the world. Take the G7. You can look at it from GDP, GNP, and per capita income. But the most fundamental indices that you will use will be indices that show that their women are not poor. So any country in which the women are not poor, there can be no poverty. Any country in which the women participate in the economy, there can be no poverty. Any women in which the women participate in politics, there can be no poverty. So that is very important for us to observe. But in this country, in the context of Nigeria, everybody you bring out in Nigeria can make this kind of speech I'm making. So why do we make these speeches? And we spoke eloquently when the Nigerian delegation to the Beijing conference in 1995. So when it comes to articulating what the women should be, what they should get, what we should do, we are okay. Why don't we do it? It's simple. The access to power in Nigeria has been two ways: military or election. You know the military. Women are very few there. So when you hear, ladies and gentlemen, there's a coup, the voice will be a masculine voice, will never be a woman. So for many years, women were denied access to power. Secondly, since 1999, that we came back to civil rule, two things have dominated our politics: violence and obscene use of money. Women don't do well in those two vices. So if we want to address participation of women in politics and participation in decision making, two things we must remove. We must remove violence from politics and cheating. Women are not good cheats. Rarely can you find a woman who says, cut somebody's head off, burn their house down because I want to come to power. Women are not used to that. So we must remove that as an influence in our politics. Secondly, women don't know how to steal obscenely and create a financial empire to control everything. Women want to make their contribution. But if you look at everybody, let us be natural in the way we live our life. When we seek advice, when we seek trust, we go to the women. But when we seek power, we don't give power to the women. So I believe that if we amend our ways, enforce the electoral law very well, enforce the law and have rule of law, women will naturally dominate. I'm an employer of labor. And just like my brother Malik has said, unconsciously, without making any effort, I find out that 90% of my wealth is managed by women. That's why I have no hypertension and I can afford to leave my work and run for election. The money for running my campaign in different ways.
Thank you. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me also formally welcome our AIT audience to this event. And let me keep you up to speed. What we are doing here today is presenting the voices, the experiences and contributions of women to our political life. And we are holding our presidential candidates accountable. We actually desiring for them to stand before all of us here. You might have in the hall here probably less than 1,000 women, but I can assure you that more than 100 million eyeballs belonging to women are watching this right now. So far, we have listened to Mr. Peter Obi of Labour Party. YPP have spoken to us. Action Alliance have spoken. And SDP just spoke to us there. That is where we are, if you are just joining us on AIT. My name is Ebere Young, and I have a delectable Amazon here, Jire Kufuli, your own Jire. So your own Jire is also here with us. So now we are on the same page as I welcome here the vice presidential candidate of APC, former governor of Borno State, Alhaji Kashim Shettima.
The Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, the chairperson of this organization, the ladies of Nigeria, the women of Nigeria, it's my singular honor and privilege to stand before you. Although I'm not a prince, the two princes had earlier spoken eloquently, especially the Ebira prince from Okene. The ultimate measure of assessing any society is the way they treat their women. And there is even a saying amongst the Pante people of Ghana, educate a man, you have educated an individual. Educate a woman, you have educated a nation. And my sisters, the most important thing I want to emphasize is that it's easy to talk, but can we walk the talk? That's the $1 million question. As I have always said, in 2023, we are not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that relies. We are not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that relies on the superiority of ideas and track records to show. And what are our track records? Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was the first governor in Nigeria to appoint a woman as his deputy governor. When he finished his 2 terms as the governor of Lagos State, he was given the opportunity to come to the Senate, but he said, no, I won't come. I would rather send a woman to represent the constituency of Lagos Central, which is the most largest and the most vital of all the senatorial zones in Lagos. These are established track records that you can take us to task on. Why the first female chief judge in Nigeria hails from? Who appointed the first female chief judge in Nigeria? These are pertinent questions that I want you to scrutinize. 12 years ago, when I became the governor of Borno State, I appointed 5 female commissioners. 25% of my commissioners were women. Dr. Asabe Bilita Bashir, the current director of the Women Development Center, was in my first cabinet. So also was Dr. Zainab Gimba. Zainab Gimba is currently the member of the House of Reps representing Bama Dikwa Kala-Belge Federal constituency. So also was Dr. Selma Anas Kolo, my Commissioner of Health, and Mrs. Inna Galadima, the Commissioner for Women Affairs. So an Asiwaju administration will be a government that will be friendly to our women. Most importantly, they are the backbone of our society. They constitute over 50% of our total population. So due to paucity of time, I will be very brief in my remarks. And if Nigeria is to reach its fullest potential, we must give every person and segment of the population a fair chance to make their best contributions to the well-being and betterment of our nation. The growth of our economy and the achievement of our national destiny rests on equity and the safeguarding of the fundamental rights and decency in our society. This means ending all forms of invidious biases, including, most especially, gender discrimination. Equity and fairness to women will be a top priority of the Tinubu administration. We shall establish the following programs and policies, and you can take us to task, to promote more female inclusion in politics and governance. 1, social inclusion and political empowerment. 2, economic empowerment, whereby commercial banks will be encouraged, will be compelled to support women-owned businesses nationwide through the use of concessionary loan and incentive schemes. And of course, fighting domestic violence and abuse. Educational parity, and helping the most disadvantaged in our society. My sisters, unless the women folk of Nigeria are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, Ashwaju is married to the same woman for the past 40 years. There are some of the candidates who see women as tools of pleasure, as chattels to be discarded every cycle to be replaced by a new lady. Unless the women of Nigeria have lost their senses or suffer from Stockholm syndrome, I see no reason why. When you have seen a winning team, and what matters is not the geography of our places of worship, no. What matters is the competence, is the quality, is the track record of our presidential candidates. I want to commend my younger brother here, the very brilliant, very eloquent young man. But I believe that experience is not something that you can buy in the marketplace. We have garnered the experience, we have garnered the track record of excellence and achievement. And my sisters, there are 2 functions taking place simultaneously here. The governor of Kano is launching a book, but I said, no, I have to come and honor our sisters, our mothers, before going to honor the governor of Kano State. That goes to show our commitment to our women, to our mothers, to our sisters, to our wives. And you can hold us responsible. We are ready to sign any document because our word is our bond. I crave your indulgence to take my leave to go and appreciate the governor of Kano State. Beyond that, you can count on us. We are one of you and you are one of us. Thank you so much.
The vice presidential candidate of the APC, former governor of Borno State, Alhaji Kashim Shettima. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Microphone for Abiola, please. Abiola, here you go.
It's not on. The mic is not on.
Use the microphone.
Yes, thank you very much, Sars. Before you came in, we had presented the Women Manifesto, What Nigeria Women Want. And we want to also present that again. So publicly, you had said that you are ready to sign. You had said that you are committed to women. So we want to, Chair, please, you can join me. We want to present it to you once again, formally. Women, please, can you stand up? Please stand up. This is a presentation we are doing jointly. We are doing this jointly to all the presidential candidates. Honorable Minister, man, don't come. So these are the promises of women and the demands of women. Okay. I will recognize also the representative of the First Lady. You are welcome, ma. You can. Okay. INEC is also here. Please, a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. This is important to us. This is what Nigerian women want. This is the Nigerian Women's Manifesto. So this is our demand. It's our charter of demand. There are about 5 or 6 points of demand there. We will hold you accountable to it. And we encourage you that as you go in your campaign, you speak about us. And that's why we are presenting this to you today. Thank you very much.
Now, all the political parties with INEC and the office of the First Lady, we're all on the same page. The same agreement binds all of us as we begin to respect and honor the value of women in our society. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I bring on Her Excellency, the Minister for Women Affairs and the representative of the First Lady, let me invite here, representing the INEC National Chairman, the INEC National Commissioner, Mrs. May Agbamuche Mbu.
The presidential candidates, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, the organizers of this auspicious event, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I bring you warm greetings from the Honorable Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. He had wanted to be at this auspicious occasion, but is currently engaged in preparation for the general elections, and he sends his apologies and good wishes. It gives me great pleasure to give a keynote address at this all-important and timeless conference anchored by the Voice of Women Empowerment Foundation with the theme Towards Rebuilding Nigeria, Agenda Setting for an Inclusive and Accountable Nigeria. Political participation is an essential component in democracy, and a society can only be truly judged democratic when electoral processes are conducted freely, fairly, credibly, and in an inclusive manner. Ensuring unencumbered participation of both men and women is a critical deliverable in all-inclusive electoral space. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights recognizes the right of every individual to take part in the government of his and her country. Women participation in political processes is indicative of progress towards more inclusive and democratic governance and demonstrates the strength of the democratic system. The UN Sustainable Development Goals 5, 6 among other targets to ensure women's full participation and equal opportunities for leading at all levels of decision-making in political, economic, and public life. Achieving the goal of gender equality and equity is both a multi-sectoral and multi-institutional responsibility. Stakeholders in the electoral space each have their unique roles to play. These stakeholders include the election management body, INEC, political parties, the three arms of government, security agencies, civil society, the media, religious and traditional institutions, and of course, the electorate. A brief discourse on the existing dynamics vis-a-vis the roles of some of these critical stakeholders in Nigeria is important at this juncture. An inclusive and gender-responsive EMB is expected to have the capacity to mainstream gender in its plans, policies, and procedures. And a good place to start will be by having a gender policy. A gender policy clearly affirms the place of equality and equity within the work practices, processes, and output of the organization. INEC developed such a gender policy in 2014 which was in response to the new National Gender Policy 2006, and then, of course, the Vision 2020. Both the National Gender Policy and INEX Gender Policy were recently revised with INEX recalibrated to respond to the changing dynamics and demands of the present society and to further strengthen the institutional capacity of the Commission as a gender-sensitive government agency, which is gender responsive in its policies, practices, and in its relations with stakeholders, particularly including political parties to mainstream gender equity in their operations and public space. Beyond the gender policy, the Commission also has a disability framework, which ensures that the interests of citizens with special needs spanning the process in the electoral cycle are given due attention. One of the 4 policy objectives of the revised INEC gender policy is to encourage gender equity and balance within the political parties, especially in their identification of candidates in line with the provisions of their statutes and a relevant binding national legal provision. However, recording success in this regard is proving a Herculean task. This is because until there is enforceable legislation that compels them to gender responsive, both in terms of their leadership structure, policies and practices, serving and accountability officers to political parties may in the interim be limited to sustained engagement, advocacy, moral persuasion, promoting capacity and confidence building programs for female aspirants and candidates. Empowered by Section 29(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, stipulating that every political party shall submit to the Commission the list of candidates the parties propose to sponsor at the elections. The Commission fixed the timeline for political parties to conduct their primaries to democratically elect their standard bearers for the 2022 general elections. The outcome of the primaries based on the final list of candidates released by the Commission is summarized along gender lines as follows. 2023 general election gender percentage of political party candidates. For the presidential election, we have 97% male, 3% female. For the governorship, we have 85% male, 15% female. For the Senate, we have 92% male, 8% female. And in the House of Representatives, we have 91% male, 9% female. State House of Assembly, we have 90% male and 10% female. The figures above are an abysmal representation of the expected ratio of female representation juxtaposed with male representation. The downward trajectory of women in both appointive and elective positions at national and subnational levels in contemporary times has not been any different in spite of the robust engagement at all strata on issues around women's empowerment. Gender equity and political inclusion. The International Republican Institute, IRI, together with the National Democratic Institute, NDI, in their final report on the 2019 general election, revealed, and I quote directly, that the number elected to the Senate decreased from 7 in 2015 to 6 in 2019. The number of women elected to the House of Representatives similarly declined from 20 in 2015 to just 12 in 2019. Combined, only 3.8% of members of the National Assembly are women. The lowest rate for women's legislative participation is sub-Saharan Africa, and far below the region's average of 24%. End of quote. There's plainly much work to be done regarding women's empowerment, and sadly, the low membership of women in parties' leadership structures and decision-making positions as aspirants, candidates, or as elected or appointed officials in government has denied the country the full potential and the positive contributions of women to national development and to the building of a more inclusive society. A greater part of the blame for these lies at the doorstep of poor and ineffective internal party democracy, and of course, the dollarization of the political party process. Based on the 2023 general election calendar of activities, much has been executed already with women receiving the short end of the stick, particularly with regard to equity. The next major task is determining the election outcome through voting. Statistics from the July 16, 2022 Osun governorship election indicated that of the 805,845 accredited voters, 378,155 representing just 46.9 were female. Following the analysis of recent voter registration, a similar scenario may present itself during the 2023 general election. This is an opportunity for their voices to be heard loudly and for their voices to count and for their votes to count. Intensive and extensive voter mobilization, sensitization is expected to be carried out by the Commission, civil society organizations, etc. With the support of the media, targeted outreach programs to educate the vulnerable population on voters' right to secrecy is critical. This is against the backdrop of vulnerability mapping, identifying the possibility of individuals or groups wrongfully prevented from or influenced upon with regards to exercising their right to vote freely through bribery, intimidation, and coercion. Some cultural norms are also known to suppress or prevent women participating in election. The concept of family voting, particularly in traditional settings, is common and is a violation of the principle of secrecy of the vote. Democracy experts predict that the 2023 general election will be a watershed moment in the democratic journey of Nigeria. Citizens have more than ever become more aware and willing to take charge of their destiny. We cannot afford to take this for granted, as elections and electioneering is no longer business as usual. There is and must be accountability on all fronts, for the ultimate benefits of equal opportunities for all, citizens' economic empowerment and sustainability of achieved milestones in the polity. INEC remains unrelenting in setting an agenda for an inclusive and accountable Nigeria. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together once again for our keynote speaker, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, INEC Chairman, ably represented here by Mrs. Mary Agbamuche Mbu. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, we'd like to thank you for your rapt attention. We welcome you again to VOW, Voice of Women 2020 Conference and Awards towards rebuilding Nigeria, an agenda setting for an inclusive and accountable government. I would right now like to welcome to the podium, with due respect, a woman of substance, one who I guess you'll agree with me has definitely paid her price. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly welcome the Honorable Minister, Women Affairs, Dame Pauline K. Talen, OFR, KSG.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, but I want our presidential candidates to know that this is a very, very serious conference, that we want nothing but absolute sincerity of purpose. Nigerian women have suffered a lot, and I'm happy that a good number of the presidential candidates are here, although 2 have stepped out, but we are watching and we are monitoring each one of you. I want to start by acknowledging the representative of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our dear First Lady, Dr. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, who is ably represented here by her Senior Special Assistant, Dr. Rukayya Wuri. The chairperson of this occasion, my dear sister, Saudatu Mahdi, our presidential candidates. In order not to take much of my time, I want to acknowledge all of you in a very special way. You've already been acknowledged. Representative of the INEC chairman, who is also the keynote speaker, ably represented by our dear sister. I acknowledge our development partners all gathered here, distinguished Nigerian women, great Nigerian women, great Nigerian women. It is time for serious business. It is not time for us to be carried away by sweet talks and promises, but we are going to hold each one of you accountable. And we are surrendering you to the Almighty God, who sees your hearts. And He's the only one that can really identify who is the best that will involve Nigerian women in governance. Participants, gentlemen of the press, I want to start by thanking McCarthy Foundation, Women Radio, and all our civil society organizations for organizing this very important conference, Voices of Women 2022. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to be part of this epoch-making Voice of Women conference with the team towards rebuilding Nigeria, an agenda setting for an inclusive and accountable Nigeria with the good participation of our presidential candidates from the various political parties. Surely one of you will emerge the president in a few months from now. The question then is, who will be sincere? So keep faith with what you have told us here. My message to all the contestants is that no woman inclusion in your agenda, no presidency. I repeat, no woman inclusion in your agenda, no presidency. No woman, no nation. No woman, no nation. Nigerian women will no longer be silent. They demand equity based on their numerical strength. They demand accountability based on their sacrifices. They demand integrity based on promises unfulfilled. And above all, they demand a free and fair election where everyone's vote counts. From the rejection of our 5 gender-related bills, which hold high benefits for this country, to poor representation of women in appointees and elective positions, it is no longer business as usual. I was battling with tears in my eyes when our keynote speaker presented the statistics and the percentage of women representation before INEC for this coming election. It is something that is a shame to all our political parties. All our political parties have so far failed us because they rejected women participation. It's not that we don't have capable women. We have more than capable women. But there's no day that I don't receive very capable women rushing into my office with tears after the primaries. Most states, there was no primaries. We all know it. That alone is another failure in the system of our election. Something has to be done. The few that have scaled through the primaries, and the only one female governor we have that has scaled through, something funny is already happening, but we will not rest on our oars. We will continue to push to demand our mandate. The case of Binani, Senator Binani, is a case in point that we want all well-meaning Nigerians, our presidential candidates of the affected parties must show us that sincerely what they are telling us will be practical. Therefore, at the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, on behalf of all Nigerian women, we will continue to educate women on the need to participate massively in the coming elections and to vote rightly at all times. Where a woman is contesting, we must support our fellow women, irrespective of whatever political parties. You must support women and ensure that women sail through. We have the numerical strength, and the men are telling us that if only we support one another, we won't be complaining. I agree with them. This is the time for us to show that we really mean business, not a talk shop. As mothers of the nation, we listen very, very clearly. We listen with keen interest to each of your presentations. And our prayer is that may God give you the enablement to fulfill your words. Women are being educated not to mortgage their future for little gains of today. As mothers, our concerns is a better future for our children. And if we don't stand to protect and ensure the right candidate sells through, then we have mortgaged our children's future. And without the young ones, there is no future. I pray God gives us the enablement to stand on the path of truth, to stand on the path of fairness, to stand on the path of ensuring that the right candidate is supported in order to fulfill the mandates that they have assured us here in this gathering. We are partners in progress, and we deserve to be treated with dignity. Therefore, this time around, Nigerian women will only give their votes to an inclusive and accountable president that will work with women and promise us that we are truly partners in progress who deserve the space at the decision table. Long live Nigeria. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My last words to Nigerian women: as you watch, we must watch and pray. It is God that gives leaders. It is God that gives each of them the opportunity to serve. We must pray and fast and cry to God to save our country for the sake of our children. I thank you for your attention.
Let's keep the round of applause going, please. Amazing woman indeed. And she has covered virtually all the spectrum. She used to be Commissioner of Education in Plateau State. She used to be Deputy Governor in Plateau State. Today, she is the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, and she's standing her ground, demanding for the rights of women. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And let me thank our presidential candidates here. You people have shown that in your journey with women, you are ready to be marathoners. You start with them, you want to end with them. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me also, unfortunately, the time for presidential candidates to speak to our women had elapsed. We're about rounding up now because we're live on television. But I'd like to welcome here officially the African Democratic Congress, the presidential candidate, Dumebi Kachiko. I recognize you and I welcome you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So without much ado, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I also like to say thank you to the First Lady. I understand she's watching us now. What a mother she is, a mother of the nation. But her representative is here, Dr. Rukayat Gurin, SSA Admin and Women Affairs, will be delivering her address. I welcome you.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, then Pauline Talen, who is just left. The chairperson of this occasion, Hajia Sawudetu Mahdi, our presidential candidates sitting here with us, representative of the chairman of INEC, our development partners here, our distinguished, very distinguished women of Nigeria, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to stand here before you to present a remarks of Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, who is unavoidably absent and who has all the way been talking about this particular conference. She's very proud of this conference because of the hard work that women have been doing, especially Women Radio of 79.1. So wherever you hear I, is Dr. Mrs. Aisha Buhari speaking. I read her speech. It is my pleasure to be part of the 6th Voice of Women Conference and Awards organized by Women Radio 91.7. 3 years ago, I was here at the 4th Voice of Women Conference, where we discussed our roles as women in elevating Nigeria. I'm happy at the progress Nigerian women have made so far. The theme for this year's conference, Towards Building Nigeria, an agenda setting for an inclusive and accountable Nigeria, is appropriate as it captures the important role of women in the next or this political dispensation. According to INEC, women, 74.1% of Nigerian women voted in 2019 elections. At the current political dispensation, I therefore encourage the Nigerian women to do better. Women should make sure they register and also exercise their civic responsibilities. Our participation in this election is necessary. I encourage every political party to support women and also shun electoral violence against women. Nigerian women are competent and we have the capability to serve. I urge every political party to create a conducive atmosphere for women to compete and strive. I want to reaffirm to you that the government of Muhammadu Buhari is committed to making the 2023 electoral process credible and violence-free. I thank the leadership of Women Radio 91.7 and Voice of Women Foundation
and commend the excellent work you are doing in amplifying the voices of the Nigerian women, providing safe spaces such as this gathering that we are here for. Our coming together in sisterhood across ethnic, religious, and political affiliations is what we must continue to promote. The establishment of the only women radio in Nigeria is an achievement for all of us. It is a bold and laudable initiative. I commend you for using women radio as bipartisan platform and for consistently pushing the boundaries of the women agenda. As you will be celebrating 7 years on December 17th, I'm happy to note that we now have more women radio licenses to operate in Adamawa, my own state, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Kaduna, and Oyo states. These new radio stations will further advance women and amplify more of our voices at grassroots. I thank my husband, President Muhammadu Buhari, who identifies with the woman agenda by granting these radio licenses through NBC. Through the Future Assured Foundation, we have and will continue to strengthen healthcare service delivery to our women, especially in the rural communities. We will also continue to pay special attention to internally displaced women and their families. On this note, I would like to conclude by commending all women for their efforts and by pushing our boundaries to success. God bless Nigeria. So on this note, I would like to thank everyone here. And this is my own personal observation. I've listened to some of our presidential candidates that have delivered their own speeches about women. And looking at this whole, beautiful women, great women, wonderful women of Nigeria are all gathered here. And what I said is, this time around, what we need is not just history, experience, but commitment to what we say and what we do. We must strive. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before I invite Cynthia Mabalu for the political candidate's commitment, before I do so, let me invite her, the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Dumebi Kachuku. 3 minutes. What does your party have for the women?
Thank you very much. Standing on existing protocols, I first and foremost want to apologize to Nigerian women. I just found out about this event barely 20 minutes ago. I was on my way to another event, and I was told that Nigerian women were holding an event here, and I was supposed to be one of the participants for this event. So I felt it was very important for me to be part of Nigerian women gathered here today. I didn't even know what was in the program, but I said if Nigerian women feel it's important to gather somewhere and discuss Nigeria, then I must be part and parcel of what they are doing. Very quickly, I will just, I just scribbled something, something very short. The Nigerian women, Your country needs you. You, in times past, delivered your people, saved your nation and continent. You, the Nigerian women, did this. First, it was in 1910. The women of Agbaja, Kogi State, stayed away from their homes for a month in protest due to suspicion that men were killing pregnant women. This led to the society, to the men to come together to address their concerns. Then, 1924, 3,000 women in Calabar protested against the colonial authorities. In the southwest of Nigeria, female groups formed formidable pressure groups that made men sit up. In 1929, December 22nd to be precise, more than 10,000 women demonstrated at Oloko Bende against the restriction of women in government. This is what is known today as the Aba Women's Riots. This event at Oloko was to spread to most parts of the eastern region within the next 4 weeks. The modus operandi of the protest involved sitting by women. Because of this, many warrant chiefs were forced to resign. Women were now brought in to government. I say this to you today, Nigerian women, because here we are today talking about elections next year. My fear, my worry as a presidential candidate is that we might not even have a nation next year. We, the men, we have failed you. We have failed you completely. We are now a nation where they are trading human parts of our young women. As I speak to you today, we have over 1,000 young people, children, in kidnappers' dens. This is the state of our nation, and the men who ought to defend and protect you have failed you. Yet here we are again today, asking for your votes.
Thank you very much. Once again, we'd like to thank the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Dumebi Kachuku. We got some information after his speech that organizers of this event reached out to every single presidential candidate. They had difficulty tracing some offices, some websites were not going through, and they said even the telephone numbers for the African Democratic Congress did not go through. So it was very difficult for them to reach you. But they said there's evidence that a letter was taken to the office, but there was no response. Some people reached out to them by seeing the adverts on the internet. They reached out to the committee, and that's how they were able to put this package together. Once again, organizers tried to reach every single candidate. Thank you very much.
course of history, we have seen that when Nigerian women speak up, over the course of history, we have seen that when Nigerian women speak up, things happen. In the 1910s, women in Agbaja stayed away from their homes for a month in protest due to suspicions among them that some men had been secretly killing pregnant women. Their collective absence pushed village elders to act and address their concerns. In 1924, 3,000 women in Calabar protested the market toll that was imposed by the colonial authorities. And finally, in 1929, women revolted and stared down the government of the day, which was the British Empire and all it stood for, and demanded an end to oppression and better representation. In each of these situations, every time women came together to challenge oppression and corruption, they succeeded, leveraging on skill, numbers, and organizing capacities. Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, RAPA, with support from MacArthur Foundation, has harnessed the collective strength of women groups through the gender and accountability.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, it's been a beautiful day. We've heard the voices of our women. We've also heard the voices of our political candidates. What is left is, as we journey to 2023, we begin to hold these able, wonderful men who are asking for our votes in 2023 accountable, as they say, this is what we're going to do for women. But some of these commitments have come from the rapporteurs who are put together so that they can tell you some of the things you have said since you came here. Let me welcome here Cynthia Mbamalu to give us the political commitments.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, partners from the press, society partners present here. My name is Cynthia Mbamalu. I'm part of the VOW Planning Committee. And once again, we welcome you to the VOW2022 conference. We've listened to the presidential candidates and the parties represented speak to us, and they have made commitments. Like was mentioned, we had reached out to all the political parties, but we had present 6 parties who made commitment today. And one thing that stands out is that all the parties had told us of their track record and their commitment to women. And this morning or afternoon, I would highlight major commitments because we'll be holding the political parties to account. In no particular order, we have it summarized. The first, we had commitments for an effective institutional framework that efficiently addresses violence against women and girls. We've had that commitment today, and would hold the parties accountable to this particular commitment. There was a commitment for affirmative action. Thankfully, different parties talked about their track record, either in appointing women or having women in their cabinets. But what we have agreed from this meeting is that whichever party wins, we are receiving at least, when it comes to appointments in the cabinet, at least 35% women will be appointed. We had commitments for 50%, which is what we will be celebrating also. But what we've heard at the minimum so far is that they would have at least 30% women appointed in the cabinet. In line with affirmative action, we've also received commitment that there will be reviews of the legislation to promote the rights of women. And for us, when we think of legislation, we already have existing legislations like the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill and the key legislations provided for in this charter on women inclusion in the Constitution. So we got that commitment also. So appointment of women and legislation to promote the rights of women. Another was wealth creation. We've gotten commitment that there will be investment in skills acquisition for women. There was also commitment that in the idea of wealth creation, there will be opportunities for more women to develop economically. And this was a commitment that we received. We received a commitment on education parity and development for. And this is very important because of the high number of out-of-school girls in our country. So we would also hold the candidates and the parties accountable to these commitments for educational development that creates better opportunities for every child and every girl to be part of the educational system, that no one will be left behind. This also includes children living with disability. We also got a commitment also that there will be better investment in women development in areas of agriculture, in areas of technology. And these are very important aspects for women's development. And we believe that as the parties have laid out these very important commitments, that will be holding them to account. There was a general commitment that the electoral process will be devoid of violence. And as we move into these elections, we believe that these elections would be conducted in such a way that no life will be lost. And we believe that the parties and the candidates have committed to peaceful elections that guarantees that every woman and girl is safe to participate in the electoral process. Once again, thank you to our parties and the candidates present. Nigeria women are watching. Our charter of demands, like you held it and took pictures, these are not just words on paper. These are aspirations of women that will continually to hold you to account. And Nigerian women are looking up to you, that whoever wins these elections, that you will stand with women, you will speak for women, and you would ensure a gender equal society. Thank you.
I think we can do better than that. We've heard them, they've listened to us, and now we're watching and waiting. Thank you very much. Before we go on, we'd like to quickly take a few comments from the National Program Officer representing UN Women, Country Representative, Mrs. Beatrice Ayong. She's represented here today by Patience Sekioba. Could you kindly come forward?
I'll be quickly giving this remark on behalf of my country representative, but let me quickly apologize for coming late. She was supposed to be here herself. She couldn't make it. She decided to send the deputy. Last minute, the deputy was invited to an SMT meeting, so please apologies. But I'll quickly just read her speech. It's a short one, but I'm sure that quite a lot has happened here, and I really want to congratulate Nigerian women. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to present this few remarks on behalf of UN Women Country Representative, Ms. Beatrice Ayong. I wish to thank Women Radio for the laudable initiative for ensuring that issues of inclusion remain paramount in public discourse. It is an exciting and critical period for Nigeria as citizens gear up to elect new leaders, including a president to steer the affairs of the nation in less than 5 months. While we congratulate Nigeria for making progress in sustaining democracy since it returned from military rule in 1999, it is quite disheartening that Nigerian democratic reign has been lopsided. And I think that has been alluded to with all the conversations we've had today, characterized by gross misrepresentation, underrepresentation of women. Women's equals participation and representation in political affairs and governance legitimizes democracy. This is because democracy cannot effectively thrive when half of the nation's population is left out of the decision-making that affect their lives. Women in Nigeria constitute half of the population and should be able to vote and be voted for. There has been a retrogression, you and I know this, in women's political representation in Nigeria since 2011. If the statistics of candidates for the 2023 election are any indication, it is certain that women's representation will further decline, unfortunately, with only 10.1% of the total number of candidates. This means that even if all women contesting win their seats, they will still fall far below the global threshold of 30%. But we hope with all the commitments that have been made here today, at least we can reclaim some of the appointive position. It is critical to understand that women's equal representation is not just a right in itself, it is a proven road to sustainable development gains. For Nigeria to make meaningful progress in the reduction of poverty, enhance security, and the leads in developmental indices in Africa, gender inclusion must be placed at the center of leadership and all development efforts. Incoming executive governments, such as the president and state governments, have a huge role to play in fulfilling this void and bridging the leadership gap by committing to inclusive policy and equality in political appointment. This starts with a commitment made during political campaign, and I know those campaigns are still on, solidified when implemented upon assumption into office. Equally important is the need for the incoming National and State Assembly to prioritize enactment of the affirmative action legislation to overturn the downward trends of unequal leadership. As we continue with this deliberation, which I know is also coming to a close, it is my earnest hope that we'll understand the importance of inclusivity in governance and the urgencies required to upturn the status quo. UN Women is strongly committed to strengthen our partnership with government and non-governmental organizations to enhance women's leadership and participation in decision-making to ensure inclusion at all levels of governance. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, UN Women.
Over the course,
we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen,
women in Agbaja stayed away from their homes for a month in protest due to suspicions among them that some men had been secretly killing pregnant women. Their collective absence pushed village elders to act and address their concerns. In 1924, 3,000 women in Calabar protested a market toll that...
Thank you. If you recall, we said this was a conference and an award ceremony. Every year, individuals and organizations are acknowledged for their support towards the development of Nigerian women, and they are recognized with awards. To tell us how they came about the award, I'd like to welcome here Ike Odiawa, who will take us through how they got to where we are, and then we'll present the awards. Ike.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand on all protocols existing. My name is Ike Odiawa. I consult with apologies. Hello? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand on all protocols observed earlier. My name is Ike Odiawa. I'm a consultant with Women Radio and Voice of Women Empowerment. I have been with Voice of Women since inception, and I'm glad to say I'm still with them, and I will continue to be with them. I'm very humbled and pleased at the same time to be here with you all. As we do this every year, I'm glad to say that it gets better and better, the quality of people, what we have to say and what you have to say as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. When we started giving out these awards, people wondered that, okay, why do you give out these awards? But to us, it means that if you are doing something, it is nice to be acknowledged for what you're doing. You're impacting on lives. You're impacting on people's livelihood. And the kind of awards, we have 7 categories for VOW awards, and each of them is very significant and very impacting to women's lives. And that is why every year we carefully select who gets these awards. We do not ask people to pay for these awards. The nominees are nominated by public, but what we do is we do our own due diligence on these awards. These awards are not for sale, like I said earlier on. And even if you have the highest number of votes, it's quite challenging selecting people from this for these awards, I must say. If you have the highest number of votes, doesn't mean you're going to win. We have to look at how you're impacting on women's lives, how you're impacting on families. What have you done that is different? How many communities have you reached? You can reach a community with 500,000 people, but some people might reach 3 communities and it's not even up to 500,000. But you know that in that ecosystem, you have delivered. And then when we give organizations, we're not talking about, yes, you're doing a CSR where you're giving out 5,000 loaves of bread a day. No. Is your CSR woven into the fabric of your existence of your company? Is it part of your commercial value? Are you touching lives with your, is it sustainable? Are you touching women's lives and their families? Those are the things that we look at when we select. And I must say, a lot of the company this year, it was so interesting that when we threw it to the members of the public, and educating for me, because half of the people that came up, I didn't know they existed. And I must tell you, women are doing so many great things. The number of women farmers associations we have is unbelievable. They were all nominated. Ladies, I think we should give ourselves a big round of applause for all that we do. And in view of this, the 7 categories that we have selected carefully the winners in each of the categories. Unfortunately, we would not be selecting for the Lifetime Achievement Award this year. Again, we've only done that twice, I believe, since inception, and we still didn't get anyone for it this year. But the other 6 categories were very tough, but we managed to get winners. Thank you so much. with Nasima, and they have always been a friend of Voice of Women Empowerment. Thank you so much, Mr. Delioye. Unilever, this is the award. And I'm giving you. Here's your microphone.
On behalf of VOW2022 awards, I present this award to Unilever Nigeria for uplifting women through your produce and service and linking corporate citizenship with commercial value. Incidentally, I'm the first deputy president of Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce. So you can understand the link between the business community and what Unilever is doing. You are a great family company. And by these awards, we encourage other companies to be more gender friendly. Thank you very much.
Unilever.
Standing on all existing protocol, I want to acknowledge the laudable efforts of this gathering and the women gathered here. Thank you for your drive towards a better Nigeria. Also want to acknowledge your efforts in recognizing Unilever. We acknowledge the rigorous process of selecting us for this award, and we stand on our commitment for integrity, inclusion, and diversity as a business. Thank you.
I'd like to call on the chairman of St. Ives Communications to give out our next award. Because I know he's a he for she any day. And the next category is for women-friendly ministry, department, or agency. And this award is going to a ministry, department, or agency that demonstrates high levels of female empowerment through its programs and policies. And this award is going to the ministry, Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Like I said, it was quite enlightening to see what a lot of people are doing in the women's space. Okay. Sorry.
Congratulations, man. So on behalf of Voice of Women 2020 Conference Award, I present this to you, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, for demonstrating the highest level of female empowerment through your programs and policies. Congratulations, man.
Thank you so very much. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is setting the pace, not only with her commitment and her input towards our GDP. She is equally empowering women through her policies and programs, to the extent that we are dealing with the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, that is predicated on empowering women, empowering all girls, leaving no one behind in terms of gender equality. For the organizers of this program, we thank you for magnifying, amplifying women's voices. Women farmer, oh yeah! Thank you so very much.
Well done. I'd like to call on Ebere to give out our next award. Yeah. I need to mention this. One of the criteria for selecting the awardees was also to look at if they're meeting up with the developmental goals. And that was very, very key to us, because We need to be able to say that, yes, you are doing this based on XYZ. And that was very, very interesting that most of them they tick the boxes at least 4 or 5 of these developmental goals. So the next category is for a civil society organization or a community-based organization that champions and commits to the causes of disadvantaged women, families, and their children in Nigeria. And this year, I'm very, very proud to say that we have a lot of people doing this, especially in the younger category. And this year is going to Reswaye. Please clap for them. It's not easy to get an award. And I can tell you that each of these categories was very tough. We had over 50 nominations. So for us to pick out one person, have done exceptionally well. Please clap for SYE. Thank you.
It's indeed an honor for me to be handing this award to the organization. This is for championing and committing to the causes of disadvantaged women and family in Nigeria. As a strong gender activist, this is a wonderful honor for me. Congratulations, my dear.
Thank you so much, Voice of Women, for this platform and for recognizing the work that we're doing in communities. My name is Ogechi Michael, and I'm here representing my founder, Doyin Ogunye, and it's been amazing doing this work in communities and helping so many disadvantaged women. And I'm so glad. I want to say thank you for supporting and for recognizing the hard work we're doing in communities. We appreciate you, and we are saying there is so many women to be empowered, and there is a lot of work to be done. So let's do this together. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on the SSA to the Honorable Minister of Women's Affairs, Princess Idonije, to give out the next award. Oh, Princess of the Gender. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay. Oh, I should have. Sorry. This award is for social innovation, where we looked for a woman who is a female, who has made the best use of social media to advocate about women's issues. It's not just about women's issues, but engaging and having conversations. We're looking at how interactive her platforms are. What is she saying? What is she doing? And out of the 25, I believe, that we selected for this category, the award is going to Dr. Naima Idris Usman. The representative for her here. Okay. And this is the award now?
Social Innovation Award presented to Dr. Naima Idris Usman for making the best of social media to advocate women issues. Congratulations.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Naima is not here to collect this beautiful award today. I'm representing her, and I'm sure she'll be very, very grateful and keep supporting her and recognizing her work, and she'll keep doing the good work. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much. And with that, we come to the end of this award ceremony. But I would like to leave us with a thought before we all leave. having achieved this, getting an award is not the end of it. You should still strive to go higher and higher. And for everybody that was nominated, I'd like to say big congratulations, because you must have done something for the public to have nominated you. Keep doing the good work and keep pushing women ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ike. And again, let me thank the presidential candidates for your patience. It shows that you are ready to work with women. Well, any man ready to work with women must be a patient person. And thank you for your time. We appreciate it. It's been wonderful having all of you here all day. But there are some people that put this together. I'd like to invite the conference planning committee members. Let me call Dr. Abiola Akeode Afolabi to please rise. Aisha Falke or Falke. Cynthia Mba Malo. Mrs. Oluwatosi Dokwesi. Let's put our hands together for her. Princess Joan Jumai Idonije. Patience Ogolo Dixon. Mrs. Sheung Laguju. Aisha Abubakar. These amazing women put this together, supported by the awards committee, Ike Odiawa, Ike, Mary, okay, Patience. Mary Akpobome, Oluwa Soromidayo George, and Dr. Lydia Umar. These are wonderful women. They're here. Let's continue to appreciate them with a round of applause. Ike, you can join them. And I love your voice, though. Beautiful. Then the volunteers, Esther Manga Julian, Aisha Musa, Abisola Oshodi Carolina, Khadija Sabitu Ibrahim, and Abimbola Odutola Rachel. They're here. Amazons, elegant women, dedicated women. Let's put our hands together for them, ladies and gentlemen. While they are there, please join them. Mrs. Tom Okewale, please. Join them. Join them. All your work from behind the scene, we need to see your lovely face. As I invite here, Dr. Tunde Okewale, to step forward here and do the vote of thanks. Are you not a blessed man? You are doing the vote of thanks in the midst of women.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. On behalf of Women Radio 91.7 and the Voice of Women Empowerment Foundation, we express our profound gratitude to everyone present here. It's been a great joy hosting the 6th Voice of Women Conference and Awards. We thank Makota Foundation for your immense support to us, and to our partners, Woman Manifesto, RAPA, Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, PERL, that's the Partnership to Engage Reforms and Learn Advocacy for Women and Disability Initiatives, the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, the Bank of Industry. We thank you for doing this with us. We appreciate you. We would also like to express our appreciation to Her Excellency, the First Lady of Nigeria, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Buhari, the Honorable Minister of Affairs, Dame Pauline Talin, our chairperson today, Saudatu Madi, MFR, the Secretary General, RAPA, our keynote speakers, Dr. Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, and all our speakers. The committees and volunteers who worked tirelessly, we appreciate you. We are truly grateful for your support and access. And to all our 2023 presidential candidates, we are that were present. We are very, very grateful. We thank you for being available. It means you value the Nigerian women. For your presence here means that to us. We appreciate the entire staff of Women Radio 91.7 that has worked one way or the other tirelessly to make this event a success. Thank you for being a voice of women. And most importantly, to all Nigerian women, thank you. You are the reason why Women Radio was established. Our mandate and service is to all Nigerian women to become a formidable force in the nation and in every sphere of influence. Thank you, Nigerian women, for all the support and all the push. Women Radio 91.7, as always, will continue to use our platform to inform, to educate, to inspire, to amplify, and ensure that women's voices are heard and her story is told. Thank you for VOW2022, and we hope to see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Well, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one of the beautiful things about this event is the acknowledgement of the contribution of everybody. But Aisha Abubakar, where are you? Aisha Abubakar, I'm sure I'm summoning you like one headmaster. You know why I called you here? You don't know. I called you here because in your eyes is the future of the nation. In your energy and hard work is the future of the nation. So I just been told backstage that you pulled all of this together with some people. You almost had broke down, but you are standing. So I just wanted a situation where this amazing young woman, who might likely be the president of Nigeria by 2050, because all it takes to be president of Nigeria is commitment, and Aisha has it. Aisha, that presidential address for 2050, deliver it 2 minutes now.
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank the presidential candidates that stayed all through. We're very grateful. It shows that you value Nigerian women. And I would also like to thank my husband, Engineer Abubakar Bashir, for supporting me. This shows that if a man supports you, there's nothing you cannot do. Please, Engineer Abubakar, stand up so they can appreciate you for me. Come here, please. Come here. Please come here, please. Without him, I would not be here. I have 2 small kids and he supported me all through. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate and you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody, the chair, the keynote speaker, the representative of the First Lady. We are grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Come here. Engineer, you have a lot of work to do. Look at the way he called you. Engineer, come here. Very presidential.
Yeah, because we're used to the command.
Oh, you are used to the command?
Yeah,
all right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And so, on your behalf, let me invite the presidential candidates to please rise and step forward here. Let's see them properly, and let's give them a woo. If you want to make it a standing ovation, please do. They have the patience of engineer Aisha's husband, by standing beside you. Thank you very much for your time. And I thank all of you for your time. It's been amazing co-anchoring this event with this amazing woman, Mrs. Jire Kuforije. On behalf of everyone, after the national anthem, please be on your seat. They'll distribute food, but Mrs. Tomoke Oshonaya has told me that she's taking me to Hilton. I'm the only one who is going there. So on behalf of everybody, shall we all rise now? National anthem, please. If it's not coming, can we sing? Okay, I'm the choir master now. After the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, arise, O God.
Nigeria's shall never be in vain. To serve in our command, one day surrounding, lay down is on you.
I will pass the microphone to Dr. Abiola to lead us as we close with the women anthem.
All across the nation, all around the world, women are longing to be free, no longer in the shadow, just to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song, for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development. So sing a song. So sing a song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development. No women.
I hope our presidential candidates will allow us to sing the song. Please be on your seats. They will serve you with lunch. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Please be on your seats. They'll serve you. They'll serve you.
Hello. Our ushers,
over the course of history,
our ushers
we have
should
seen
remember
that
to
when
collect
Nigerian
the
women
tags,
speak
please,
up, things
as
happen.
you give
In
the food.
1910s, women in
Kindly
Abacha
collect
stayed
the
away
tags
from their
back.
homes for a month in protest due to suspicions among them that some men had been secretly killing pregnant women. Their collective absence pushed village elders to act and address their concerns. In 1924, 3,000 women in Calabar protested the market toll that was imposed by the colonial authorities. And finally, in 1929, women revolted and stared down the government of the day, which was the British Empire and all it stood for, and demanded an end to oppression and better representation. In each of these situations, every time women came together to challenge oppression and corruption, they succeeded, leveraging on skill, numbers, and organizing capacities. Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, RAPA, with support from MacArthur Foundation, has harnessed the collective strength of women groups through the Gender and Accountability Cohort Project. resulting in women speaking up and challenging corruption in federal institutions, state and community levels.
Direct the EFCC to launch an independent probe into NDDC contracts, especially abandoned projects.
So we need NDDC to come and give us road. We don't have hospitals, we don't have lights, we don't have water. There are so many contracts that they have been awarded, but so many of them have been abandoned. Nothing for us, nothing for us. So we are pleading for NDDC, mostly NDDC, to come and help us and do our road for us. Before we get to the Kota Road, we walk more than 4 hours.
An example is the partnership with the Kebetkache Women Development and Resource Center, which has been at the forefront of enhancing women's capacity to find their voices, to challenge corruption in Nigeria's South-South zone.
At a crucial time in our society, as we were experiencing massive corruption on every side, both in the academic section, the education sector, the health sector, and even in the construction sector, the women being the burden bearer of the whole thing, we have been silent. Some of us know that we don't know what to do, but we don't know how to go about it. But thanks to the training that was given to us, we now know that, okay, there is a part we need to play, and there are little actions that we can take, that we can make.
The knowledge acquired has enabled the women's capacity to demand for inclusion in politics and nation building, while calling out duty bearers in government institutions, NDDC, and elected officials to demand accountability through tangible changes. Another alliance fostered by RAPA to great effect is that
All right, go.
You're in the mix with DJ Big N. Where you're big, you're bigger bang. Let's go.
That's a vibe today. Sit back, relax.